everybody, it's Allison. Welcome to my YouTube channel and welcome to a very special and potentially long video. Last time I promised that I would be sharing my Winnie the Pooh cards with you, and so here we are. I have a lot to share today because I have been very busy creating and having fun and just really enjoying having my crafty mojo back. So we are going to start this video with these two cards here, and you can see these are acetate overlay cards. You might have figured out I've been kind of obsessed with these kinds of cards lately, and these are the Friendly Moments press plates, and there are both of these images are in this one set. So here's the first image right here. And how sweet is this image? I foiled it in gold, and then on this white piece of paper, I stamped it on the butter press. Now, for the first set of cards that I made, I was really going for a classic aged kind of old look. This paper right here is from box 8 from Your Paper Insider, and it has this beautiful texture, but I really wanted to, again, kind of not make it grungy, but just make it look old and aged and I don't know, just not new. I inked up the edges with several different inks, starting with some turquoise colors and working my way towards some browns. And it's just really beautiful. I foiled that in gold on the acetate. And it's really easy to foil on acetate, by the way, with these press plates. Now, these are the Silly Old Bear sentiments, and it comes with a matching die, and you can foil or ink that up on your butter press system. Now here's the other image that I foiled with black foil and inked up on that white piece of paper with black ink. These are the Perfect Touch rectangles. I use these almost all the time now. And you can see I inked up this with some distress inks. I'll have all the ink colors on my blog. I'm trying to zoom through some of this pretty quickly because otherwise it would be a super long video, but there's just going to be a lot of ink blending because, again, I wanted to make these cards look aged and old and, just with lots of character. This paper is from Poppy Stamps, and it's wood grain paper. And I wanted this color, and you can see the original color that I had was just solid cardstock on the right. So you can see the difference in the look of the card, and I just feel like I don't know, I just love the look. All right, this is spray stain that I sprayed this ribbon, and I'll show you why in a second. I wanted it to look aged. So here's the original ribbon. It was white and black, and I used the same antique linen color that I had used on the panel itself. So you see how it matches a little bit better than crisp white would have. So there's that final card. And I'm going to show you how I attached the ribbon. Now, in my last video, I showed you how I attached these ribbons, but I'm just going to show you again. I'm lining up the acetate and the back panel, and then I'm lining up the ribbon in the middle and just taking my Tim Holtz tiny attacher and stapling it. And then I just tie a knot, and then I will trim it off. And it's just really easy. This is just some gold ribbon from my stash. And there is the final card. Obviously in this picture, you can't really see the image very well, but in person you can, and it's just beautiful. All right, here I want to show you what I plan on using these stamped panels for. Again, I use the butter press system to make those with black ink. These are the memory frames from the collection. And it's just one of the many cards that I still plan on making because I still have a lot that I want to make. All right, let's look at this card next. Another adorable card. This is the Pooh and Friends silhouette die. And I am just in love with this die. Now, this right here is the same die that I used on that previous card. And I wanted to make a mini slimline panel. My card, or the panel, actually ends up being 5 3/4 by 3 1/4. You can see it right here. I've already made one, and I need to make a second one, and you'll see why in a few minutes. But let's do this partial die cutting. Now, when I do my first pass of partial die cutting, I don't really worry about where the top plate is. I just don't run it through all the way. So just don't run it through all the way and it won't cut that end piece, okay? So here you can see that it has only partially cut. Now I'm taking the original one that I did and just lining it up, making sure I'm making the second one the exact same length. But this is going to pop right into those little decorative edges, and I can feel where it's kind of popped in, and so I have it placed in there correctly. And now I'm going to place my top plate only over the part that I want to cut. I don't want to put my top plate over that end piece over on the left, or it's going to cut my paper shorter than I want. So here is the final result. And you'll see in a second why I wanted these to be the same size. And you'll see this is the perfect length for this silhouette die. And so I'm just going to run that through my die cutting machine. And here it is. Now this is just white cardstock. So this is why I wanted the two pieces to be the same. So now my decorative silhouette border has the same decorative edge as the background piece. And so this is the background piece, and I am going to do a bunch of ink blending. There's obviously a lot of ink blending for these first 3 cards. And so I'm using some inks from Pink Fresh Studio to begin with. These are the turquoise inks. And now I'm going to come in with Distress inks for my browns. This is Vintage Photo. And now I'm coming in with Scorched Timber. And now for the silhouette piece, this is Antique Linen. This is the same color that I colored that panel on that first acetate card. Now I'm coming in with Vintage Photo. And here's some Scorched Timber. Trying to use the same colors on all of these, really. Now I'm coming in with one of my favorite brushes. This is, I think, the Shader 2 Plus brush from Waffle Flower. I could be wrong. If I am, I'll put it up on the screen. But I'm just going to hit the top of the grass, the little grassy pieces. And then I'm going to hit just some random areas on all the animals and on Christopher Robin. Just really trying to grunge this up. This is definitely more grungy than the first 2 cards. So here we go. Here's what we have so far. And I felt like doing something that I haven't done in a while. And that is do some splatters. So this is Uncharted Mariner to begin with. And I just have my little plastic bucket where I like to contain all my splatters and shimmer powders and stuff like that. And I just have an old paintbrush and my spray bottle of water. And now I'm coming in with some browns. Now these are the same browns that I used on the panels themselves when I ink blended. And so here we are. And I'm going to show you what it looked like before the splatters and what it looks like after the splatters. Let me know which one you like better. Should I have not splattered it? I often ask myself that question. All right, here's the Better Press system. And I have a piece of brown paper that I have treated with anti-static powder. And I'm using some off-white embossing powder here. And by the way, did you know that you could heat emboss using the Better Press system? Now I'm using black pigment ink instead of Versamark. I know that might sound strange, but I find that the black just gives a crisper image to emboss with. So I just ran this through my die cutting machine. And what I'm trying to show you here is that even though this press plate has all of these different sentiments on it, you don't need to stamp them all at once. You don't need to die cut them all at once. I often just do one at a time, especially if I'm doing off-white powder on brown paper. I don't know that I'm going to want all these sentiments in that color. So here is the final card, and I just think it is so sweet. And again, I love that aged look of it. But now we are going to move on to the cute, colorful cards, starting with this one. We're using the same silhouette die as the last card. Now this is Spellbinders masking sheets. This is new to me. This is the first time that I have used this. And I have die cut it with the silhouette die. So this is the masking sheet right here. And this is Bristol smooth paper, which makes ink blending so easy. So I'm going to remove the release paper on the back. Now you'll see a band-aid on my thumb here. My nail had ripped off literally about 5 minutes before this video. And I'm going to have so many problems trying to get this release paper off because you don't realize how often you use your thumbnail in crafting until you don't have a thumbnail to use. So I'm not going to show you all of my struggle here. Pulling the release paper off gets a little tricky because there are a lot of delicate pieces going on in all sorts of directions. So I was trying to be very careful not to rip it. But here it's all cut out and it's all in one piece, and I'm just going to press it onto my paper. Again, this is Bristol smooth paper. And I'm just going to make sure that it's down there really good before I start ink blending. Now I'm using Distress Oxides because they blend like butter, and I'm using some of my favorite colors to make rainbow, and that is Mustard Seed, Kitsch Flamingo, and what's the third one? Broken China. So I start with the yellow in the middle just so I know just to get my bearings on where I want the other, like how wide the other colors need to be. So I start with my yellow, then I come in with my pink, and then I overlap the two. Now I did bring in Twisted Citron just to add that light green because I don't know, I love that color, by the way, Twisted Citron. So, I just kind of bring in all the different colors to just make sure I have a good blend. And now I can remove the masking paper, and look at that. How magical is that? And it's so adorable. I really just didn't think I needed to do much to it. Now this is a stamp set, this Happy Little Moments. There's a bunch of press plates like that. And there's a stamp set that kind of combines all the different collections of better press plates into a stamp set. So that's what I use there. Now this could have been a 1-layer card, which, I don't often do, but I just had to put those cute little dewdrops on there. So there we go. And look at this card. This was so fun to make. Now I'm going to show you the die sets that I used for this. This is just screenshots from the Spellbinders website. I just thought it would be nice to show you the sets instead of just showing you a bunch of dies on my craft desk. And I just love these sets, and I'm going to be playing with these more. But here is the first card that I've made with them. So I've already glued down my letters, and here are the pieces that I have cut out to make the card. Okay, now here are these honey drips. And I showed you this in my last video, I think. I'm using my dirty Versamark pad. I have one dirty and one clean. I use the dirty one for techniques. And I'm just pouring clear embossing powder on these. Now I had already done this once. This is now the second round of embossing powder. And it's just going to get thick and shiny. And, it's going to look just like honey. So there we go. Now I'm going to show you the original color of this paper on the right. And when you add two layers of embossing powder, it gets darker and richer in color. So just keep that in mind when you're doing that. Now I did want to make sure that I didn't make it too dark, and it still stands out from that little honey pot. Now this little piece is the inside of the pot. So I wanted to make it darker. although you're really not going to notice this on the finished card. But these are little details that I kind of get obsessed with. Like the inside of the pot should be darker, right? So even though you can't see it, we all know it's there. Now I'm going to continue with this vintage photo ink around the pot. And now I'm grabbing my little dauber. It's just a cheap little old dauber that I find so useful lately. Anytime you want to ink up the edges of things, just the very edges, it's just great because it's not squishy like the really nice blending brushes are. So I have kind of figured out where I wanted him positioned, and then I could glue him onto the back of this pot. And now I'm going to ink blend Pooh with fossilized amber distress ink. And I'm going to go ahead and do that on all of his little body parts. And it's really going to help those body parts stand out from each other. Now I'm going to glue on that little back piece that we had just blended with the brown ink. And then I can glue on the big honey drip. Who remembers the honey drippers? Do you remember them? Robert Plant. Now I'm really starting to babble. It's really late at night, by the way. Now here I am just getting the back of my die cut nice and flush. So I just add little pieces of scrap paper to do that. And now I'm going to add a little foam dot to his little tush. And for the back foot, I'm taking some thinner foam tape and I'm putting some just on the back of that leg so that it kind of stands out from the back of his little tush, so it looks a little bit further away. And now I'm putting foam on the back of the foot. And because those are thinner foam squares than I used on his tush, it all kind of equals out to the same level. Now I need to glue that back arm directly to the card base. So I taped down the pot just to keep it in place and, figure out where I want that arm to be. Now I'm moving my tape to the bottom of the pot and the side of the pot so that when I glue this whole thing down, I know I'm gluing it in the right spot, because remember I just went through the trouble of gluing that back arm down, and I just want to make sure that I place it back in the right spot, because I am very guilty of gluing things back down in the completely wrong spot. Now, speaking of which, I put some foam tape on the back of this front foot and decided I didn't like the look of it with the back foot. So I'm going to do a little surgery, and it was really easy because there was just a little bit of foam tape holding this foot in. So it was easy to take it out, and now I'm putting it back in. I just didn't think it looked right before. And so now I can glue this front leg on. And finally for the front arm. Now for the hand, I don't really think the detail of this arm is obviously meant for him to be diving headfirst into a bucket. So I'm going to cover his hand, just the detail of that hand, with some more honey, because let's face it, he probably would have put his hand in the honey pot first before deciding to go, he's hungry. All right, I'm going to glue down the bee. And by the way, while I'm doing this, there was this little honey drip that I added to the right-hand side over there because I had it and I decided why not use it. Now I'm using my Nuvo shimmer pen to add a little bit of detail to those wings. And you saw me add a little bit of blue ink to those wings as well to make them stand out a little bit. And here is the final card. And I am so happy with how it turned out, especially because this is the exact idea that I had when I first saw these die sets. And usually when I have a weird idea like this, it doesn't often turn out. And I really didn't know if it would work out size-wise with him, diving headfirst into the pot. But, it did. Okay, I am not done with Pooh because remember this collection? Well, I didn't mention this at the beginning. This collection is in collaboration with Simple Stories. And these products right here, again, these are screenshots from the Spellbinders website. These are on their way to me right now. I've been tracking them in the mail, and I was hoping to have them in time to show in this video, but I will share it all later because I will be creating more cards and who knows what else I'll be making. And speaking of more making, there are more collections out today. This is the Jack of All Trades collection. These are actually my cards, and I will have a video out, I don't know, maybe in 3 days, something like that. And I'll explain that first card because that happy birthday card has special meaning. So these were super fun to make, and I have more on my desk, more collections from Spellbinders for January. I can think of 3 collections that are waiting for me, and I'm excited to start playing with. So a big thank you to Spellbinders for sending me these products, and a big thank you to you for, well, if you're still here. I know this is a long video. I thank you for hanging in there with me, and I hope you enjoyed the video. I hope you loved the cards as much as I do. And if you do, hit the like button. And while you're at it, don't forget to subscribe. I will be back soon, and I will see you then. Bye-bye.